Rayan sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the floor. The room was dark. Only the weak light from his phone screen lit his face. It showed another rejection email. His shoulders dropped. His chest felt heavy. It was the 5th job rejection this month. He had done everything people told him to do, studied hard, got a degree, followed the rules. But still, nothing worked. His dreams felt far. His reality felt like a cage. Outside, the world was moving. People were living, laughing, growing. But Rayan, he was stuck. Stuck in the same small rented room with a leaky ceiling and no money left in his wallet. He looked at the mirror. His eyes were tired. His face looked older than his age. His hands were shaking. He whispered to himself, "What's wrong with me?" Earlier that day, his father had called. His voice was sharp. "Still no job? How long will you waste your life?" Rayan didn't reply. What could he say? The truth was painful. Then, his best friend, Samir, had sent a message. "Bro, maybe success just isn't for everyone." That message hit Rayan hard. He stared at it for a long time. Was Samir right? The clock ticked past midnight. Silence filled the room. His phone battery died. Rayan laid down but couldn't sleep. His mind was a storm. Memories, fears, regrets. Suddenly, he sat up. Something inside him felt different. He opened his old diary. It was dusty, unused for years. He turned to a blank page. He took a pen and wrote just one line. "I will stop waiting. I will start becoming." He stared at the words. Simple, short, but strong. He thought deeply. All his life, he had waited. For the right time, the right people, the right luck. He had waited for someone to notice his hard work. But what if the waiting was the real problem? What if success didn't come from outside, but from inside? That night, Rayan made a decision. He would no longer wait. He would not wait for motivation or for help. He would start with what he had: a tired heart, a heavy mind, and one small idea. Change begins with mindset. The next morning, he woke, up before sunrise. No alarm, no phone, just a quiet mind and a strong decision. He went outside for a walk. The sky was still dark, but there was peace in the air. For the first time in months, he felt alive. He came back, opened his laptop, and searched how to change your mindset. Habits of successful people. Why do I always fail? He didn't scroll social media. He didn't watch silly videos. He made notes. He read stories. He learned. Not about the world, but about himself. Rayan started a small morning routine. Wake up early, 10 minutes of reading, write 3 things he was grateful for. Exercise for 15 minutes. At first, it felt useless. Nothing big changed, but something small inside him started to move. His mind wasn't foggy anymore. His energy was a little better. His eyes had more focus. People around him didn't notice. His parents still complained. His friends still joked about his new self-help phase. But Rayan didn't stop. He had made a promise to himself, and for the first time, he believed his own promise. Days passed. He got no big news, no job offer, no money, but he felt stronger. He felt like the pilot of his own life, not just a passenger. And then something surprising happened. One evening, he posted a short video on social media. Just a 30-second message. To the one who feels stuck. Maybe it's not your situation. Maybe it's your mindset. He went to sleep. No expectations. The next morning, he checked his phone. Over 10,000 views, hundreds of comments. People were saying, "I needed this today. Thank you for these words. Who are you? Please share more." Rayan stared at the screen. His hands shook again, but this time it wasn't fear. It was something else. Hope. He smiled. He wasn't successful yet. He wasn't rich. He had no big name, but he had changed one thing, his mindset, and that maybe was the first step. To others, it looked small, but to Rayon, it was everything, because now he knew something they didn't. Success doesn't come after you change your life. Success comes after you change your mind. Rayon looked at the sentence in his diary again. I will stop waiting. I will start becoming. Just 7 words, but they didn't feel like just words anymore. They felt like a door had opened. Inside him. That morning, after his short video went viral, something shifted even more deeply. He didn't just think differently. He started to act differently. He didn't expect success to knock again. He didn't believe everything would suddenly change. But for the first time, he realized something powerful. He didn't need the world to change. He needed to change how he looked at the world. A new routine. Begins, each day now started before. The sun rose. Rayon would wake up, stretch, open his window, and breathe deeply. He had never noticed how fresh early morning air felt. He started keeping a journal, not to complain or cry, but to track his habits, to build himself. His morning routine became simple but powerful. Wake up at 5:30 a.m., 10 minutes of reading, self-help or motivational books. 15 minutes of light exercise, 10 minutes writing thoughts in his journal, a to-do list for the day. It wasn't perfect. Some days he missed. Some days he felt tired. But now, instead of quitting, he forgave himself and continued. Because now he understood something. Small actions, done daily, become powerful habits. Learning. What school never taught. Rayon started learning. Not for marks or exams, but for life. He watched free online courses. He read articles about confidence, mindset, money, emotions, and purpose. One quote stayed with him. If you can't change your situation, change your response. That hit hard. He realized he couldn't control rejections, failures, or people's opinions, but he could control his reaction. He could choose to learn from pain. He could choose to grow from it, and that's exactly what he started doing. People didn't understand him, but not everyone saw the change. His friend Samir sent him another message. Bro, what's with all this mindset stuff? You okay? Rayon replied, I'm more than okay. I'm finally becoming who I was meant to be. Samir didn't reply after that. Some friends laughed behind his back. One even told him, You think you'll become a millionaire by waking up early and writing journals? But Rayon didn't get angry. He just smiled. He had stopped trying to prove himself to others. Now he wanted to prove himself to himself. The power of the one sentence. That one sentence he wrote kept echoing in his mind. I will stop waiting. I will start becoming. He wrote it on sticky notes and placed them on his wall, his mirror, and his laptop. Whenever he felt weak, that sentence pulled him back to strength. One day, he recorded a new video where he talked about that line, where it came from and what it meant to him. He kept it real. He didn't fake smiles. He spoke from the heart. That video got 50,000 views in 2 days. People sent him messages from all over the country. I cried watching this. This is exactly what I needed. How do you speak? What I feel inside? For the first time, Rayon felt like he wasn't alone. There were thousands, maybe millions, who felt like him, lost, tired, stuck. But maybe, just maybe, his journey could help them. From rejection to reflection. One evening, Rayon got another rejection email from a company he had wanted to work at for years. But this time, instead of feeling broken, he laughed softly. Then he said to himself, maybe this job wasn't part of my story. Maybe my story is different. He didn't close the laptop in sadness. He opened it and started writing a blog post about the rejection and what it taught him. That blog went viral too. People began following him not because he was successful, but because he was real. A small idea. begins to grow with the few. Savings he had, Rayon bought a small mic and a better second-hand phone. He started recording better videos, more mindset tips, emotional stories, small lessons he was learning every day. He didn't chase followers. He chased truth. He didn't act like a guru. He acted like a fellow struggler. And people loved that Just 1 month, his follower count grew to over 80,000. But more than numbers, something else was growing, his belief in himself. Ending with a promise late one night, Rayon looked out his window. The street below was silent. The moonlight was soft. He thought of the boy he used to be, lost, scared, angry at the world. Then, he looked at his diary. That sentence still stared back at him. "I will stop waiting. I will start becoming." He whispered to himself, "This is just the beginning." And it was, because one sentence had changed his mindset, and that mindset was now changing his life. Rayon's life was changing, not in big dramatic ways. He didn't win a lottery. He didn't become a star overnight, but he was growing, bit by bit. Each day, he was stronger, calmer, more focused. His social media page had crossed 80,000 followers. His inbox was full of messages from people saying, "Your words gave me hope," or "I was about to give up, then I found your video." For the first time in years, Rayon felt like he was living with purpose. But life doesn't let anyone grow too easily. Just when everything felt like it was moving forward, life threw him his first real test. The phone call that changed everything. It was a quiet afternoon. Ryan was working on a script for his next video. His mind was full of ideas when his phone rang. It was his younger sister crying. Their father had collapsed at work. Chest pain. Difficulty breathing. Rayon's hands went cold. The phone almost slipped from his fingers. Without another word, he grabbed his jacket and rushed to the hospital. Waiting room. Silence. The hospital waiting room felt like a different world. Cold. Silent. Time moved slowly. Doctors were inside, checking his father. His mother sat with teary eyes. His sister held her hands tightly. Rayon didn't speak much. His heart was beating too fast, his mind spinning. He sat in the corner and thought, "Is this my punishment for finally finding peace?" The strong Rayon, the one who had helped others stay positive, was now fighting his own storm. The test of mindset 2 hours passed. Finally, the doctor came out. "It was a mild heart attack," the doctor said. "He's stable now, but he'll need rest and care." Rayon felt his chest relax a little, but a new fear entered his mind. Money. The hospital bill was high. Medicines, tests, care. It would all cost more than what Rayon had in his bank. All the small earnings from his videos weren't enough. His father was the main income source of the family. Now everything would fall on Rayon. This was the moment. This was the real test of everything he had been learning about mindset, strength, patience. A dark night. That night, Rayon sat alone on the hospital bench. He opened his journal and stared at the sentence that had changed him. "I will stop waiting. I will start becoming." But tonight, that sentence felt heavy. He whispered, "How do I become anything when I'm this scared?" Then he remembered something he once said in a video. Growth doesn't mean smiling all the time. It means standing tall, even when everything is breaking. So he stood up. He walked to the nurse's counter, asked for the full bill, and said with calm voice, "We'll manage." A simple idea from pain that night, Rayon recorded a short video sitting on a hospital bench. He didn't hide his pain. He looked tired. His eyes were red. He said, "My father had a heart attack today. I'm scared, but I won't run. I won't beg. I'll find a way." If you're also fighting something right now, know this: you're not alone. The next morning, that video had over 500,000 views. Thousands of people commented, "Prayers for your father." You just gave me strength. You're a warrior. Keep going. Some even sent small donations to help with hospital bills. Ryan was shocked, not by the money, but by the love. For years, he thought no one cared, but now the world was watching. And more than that, they were feeling what he felt. Building something bigger, Ryan used some of the money to pay the hospital. But instead of keeping the rest, he did something else. He started a new project, a community called the Becoming Tribe. It was a simple online group where people could share their struggles, their wins, their lessons. No hate, no judgment, only support. The first post he made in the group was, "We don't need to be perfect. We only need to be real." In 1 week, 10,000 people joined the group. Every message, every story, every small win shared in that group made Ryan feel like his pain had purpose. A step closer to the dream Ryan's dream had never been about fame or followers. It had always been about freedom, emotional freedom, mental freedom, and one day, financial freedom too. But this journey was showing him something else. Freedom is not the absence of problems. It is the power to face them, and he was doing exactly that. Step by step, even with fear in his heart, even with pain in his eyes. The night whisper one late night after his father was back home and resting, Ryan stood at the window again. He whispered the same words he had spoken weeks ago. This is just the beginning. But this time he added something new. And I'm ready for whatever comes next. Because now he knew a strong mindset isn't about avoiding storms. It's about becoming the person who can walk through them. Ryan had faced a storm and survived. His father was recovering. His videos were reaching people's hearts. His new community, the Becoming Tribe, was growing fast. Messages of hope, healing, and courage filled his phone daily. People saw him as strong, as a light in the dark. But inside, Ryan felt something he hadn't felt in weeks: doubt. Am I a liar? It started small. One night, while replying to messages, Ryan read a comment. You're always so positive. Do you ever break? He stared at it. His fingers stopped moving. His heart slowed. He didn't answer, because the truth was, he did break. Almost every night. He smiled on video, but behind the screen he often lay awake thinking, what if I'm faking this mindset? What if I'm not as strong as they think? What if I fall and take others down with me? It was a silent war, and it was back. The video that felt empty the next day. Ryan tried to make a new video. He wrote the script. It was about staying strong when life gets hard, but when he pressed record, he couldn't speak. The words felt fake. His voice cracked. His smile didn't come. He sat there for 2 hours, staring into the camera, then he shut it off. No video that day. He told his audience, I need a break. The fear behind the silence days passed. He didn't upload anything. His community started worrying. Are you okay, Ryan? Take your time. We're here for you. Your silence is loud, brother. But the fear inside him grew louder than the support. He thought, what if they forget me? What if my moment is over? What if I was never meant for this? Ryan felt like he was losing his voice. Mind games one evening, he sat alone in his room. No lights, no sound, just his thoughts. He opened his old journal, the same one that helped him grow, but instead of writing, he flipped back through pages. He saw his past notes. I'm not broken. I'm becoming. Pain is not the end. It's the start. Mindset is a choice, but none of the words comforted him now. He whispered, what if I lied to myself? That was the real fear. Not failure, not hate, but the fear that maybe he never truly changed. A voice from the past. The next day, while walking aimlessly through the park, Ryan heard a familiar voice. Ryan? It was Mr. Kareem, his old school teacher. an old man with kind eyes and a voice full of patience. They sat on a bench together. Mr. Kareem looked at him and said, "You look tired." Rayan sighed and told him everything. How he grew, how he built something. And now, how he felt empty again. Mr. Kareem listened quietly. Then he asked, "Do you think the strongest tree never bends?" Rayan looked confused. "What do you mean?" The old man smiled. "A strong tree still bends in the wind. It just doesn't break." The forgotten direction. That night, Rayan returned home with those words echoing in his head. He realized something. He had spent weeks helping others, giving, sharing, leading, but he forgot to help the one person who started it all. Himself. He had stopped journaling, stopped meditating, stopped walking in silence, stopped checking in with his own heart. He was pouring water into others' cups while his own was running dry. No wonder he felt lost. Rebuilding, slowly. The next morning, Rayan didn't record a video. He didn't post quotes. He sat by his window, closed his eyes and breathed. Then he opened his journal and wrote, "I feel lost, but I'm still here." It was a small sentence, but it was honest, and sometimes honesty is the first step back. The realist video. Yet 1 week later, Rayan finally turned the camera on. No script, no music, no edits, just his voice. Raw and real. He said, "I haven't been okay. I got scared. I felt like I was failing. I thought I had to be perfect, but I was wrong. You don't have to be perfect to help people. You just have to be real. I forgot that. I'm remembering now." He ended the video with one line. "It's okay to bend. Just don't break." The flood of responses, that video exploded. Not because it was motivational, but because it was true. Thousands commented, "Thank you for being real. I needed this more than you know. You saved me, even while saving yourself." Rayan cried that night, but they weren't tears of fear this time. They were tears of return. He wasn't back to the old version of himself. He was becoming something deeper, a man who could rise again and again, even when doubt came back. The night after his raw, unfiltered video went live, Rayan couldn't sleep. He didn't know how people would react. He had cried on camera. He had admitted weakness. He had dropped the mask. And now, all he could do was wait. The morning. Flood Rayan woke up to something strange. His phone wouldn't stop vibrating. Hundreds, no thousands, of notifications, comments, shares, messages. The video had gone viral, not just among his followers, but across the entire internet. The world was listening. News blogs picked it up. Motivational pages reposted it. Even celebrities commented, "This is the kind of real talk we need today." Who is this guy? He speaks from the soul. Never heard of Rayan before, but I won't forget him now. It wasn't the editing. It wasn't the message. It was the truth in his eyes. The world wasn't used to seeing a man admit he was lost and still moving forward. The call that changed everything. 2 days later, Rayan received a message from a private number. At first, he ignored it, but it came again, then again. So he answered. A soft, professional voice said, "Mr. Rayan, we're from the Global Mindset Summit. We'd like you to speak this year live, on stage." Rayan froze. This was the biggest event in the world for self-growth and emotional wellness. People like Dr. Elaine Shaw, David G., and Tony L. spoke there. And now they wanted him. "I'm not ready." After the call ended, Rayan sat in silence. He had dreamt of something like this, but now that it was real, he felt fear. He whispered to himself, "What if I'm not good enough? What if I mess up in front of the world? What if I say the wrong thing?" It felt like too much. He had just found his balance again. Now, the world wanted more from him. A message from the past. That evening, Rayan got another message. But this one wasn't. From an event. It was from a name he hadn't seen in years, Hassan Malik, his old school friend. The one who used to bully him. The one who once said, "You'll never be anything." Rayan hesitated, then opened it. It said, "Rayan, I watched your video. I used to laugh at you. I made you feel small. But today, you gave me hope. I needed it. My life is falling apart. You saved me. Thank you." Rayan stared at the screen, eyes wide. The boy who once broke him now looked up to him. It hit Rayan deep in the heart. He was changing people, even those he never expected. The flight to the summit 1 week later, Rayan stood at the airport. Bag packed, speech half-written, heart pounding. He wasn't used to this. Not the attention, not the cameras, not the flashing lights. But as he looked out the plane window, he whispered, "This isn't about me anymore. It's about who I speak for." He thought of the silent fighters, the lonely, the tired, the ones crying in the dark just like he once was, and he knew he had to go. Standing on the edge, the Global Mindset Summit was massive. Thousands of people in the audience, millions watching online, bright lights, loud music, huge screens. Rayan stood backstage. The announcer read his name. "Please welcome, the voice of raw truth, Rayan, from the Becoming Tribe." Applause shook the room. He walked onto the stage. His hands were cold, his knees weak, but his voice, calm. "I wasn't always this guy." Rayan took a deep breath and spoke. "You see this version of me, confident, speaking, smiling, but I wasn't always this guy. There was a time I cried in silence, a time I gave up on myself, a time I believed I would never matter." The room went still. "But one day, I changed one thing. Not my clothes, not my job, not my body. I changed my mindset. I started choosing a different thought, a better one. I told myself, this pain is not the end, it's the start. And I kept repeating it, until I became it." Tears filled eyes across the audience. He ended with, "You don't need to be perfect. You just need to begin. Even broken wings can still fly, if the heart still hopes." Silence. Then, a standing ovation. The night that lit a fire. That night, Rayan didn't feel like a hero. He felt real. He had stood in front of the world, not as a coach or guru, but as a human who fell, broke, and stood up again. He sat by his hotel window, looking at the city lights below, and for the first time in years, he smiled with peace. He whispered, "This is just the beginning." The night after his raw, unfiltered video went live, Rayan couldn't sleep. He didn't know how people would react. He had cried on camera. He had admitted weakness. He had dropped the mask. And now, all he could do was wait. The morning flood Rayan woke up to something strange. His phone wouldn't stop vibrating. Hundreds, no, thousands of notifications, comments, shares, messages. The video had gone viral, not just among his followers, but across the entire internet. The world was listening. News blogs picked it up. Motivational pages reposted it. Even celebrities commented, "This is the kind of real talk we need today." Who is this guy? He speaks from the soul. Never heard of Rayan before, but I won't forget him now. It wasn't the editing. It wasn't the message. It was the truth in his eyes. The world wasn't used to seeing a man admit he was lost and still moving forward. The call that changed everything. 2 days later, Rayan received a message from a private number. At first, he ignored it, but it came again, then again. So he answered. A soft, professional voice said, Mr. Rayan, we're from the Global Mindset Summit. We'd like you to speak this year live, on stage. Rayan froze. This was the biggest event in the world for self-growth and emotional wellness. People like Dr. Elaine Shaw, David G., and Tony L. spoke there. And now they wanted him. I'm not ready. After the call ended, Rayan sat in silence. He had dreamt of something like this, but now that it was real, he felt fear. He whispered to himself, "What if I'm not good enough? What if I mess up in front of the world? What if I say the wrong thing?" It felt like too much. He had just found his balance again. Now, the world wanted more from him. A message from the past. That evening, Rayan got another message. But this one wasn't from an event. It was from a name he hadn't seen in years, Hassan Malik, his old school friend, the one who used to bully him, the one who once said, "You'll never be anything." Rayan hesitated, then opened it. It said, "Rayan, I watched your video. I used to laugh at you. I made you feel small. But today, you gave me hope. I needed it. My life is falling apart. You saved me. Thank you." Rayan stared at the screen, eyes wide. The boy who once broke him now looked up to him. It hit Rayan deep in the heart. He was changing people, even those he never expected. The flight to the summit 1 week later, Rayan stood at the airport. Bag packed, speech half-written, heart pounding. He wasn't used to this. Not the attention, not the cameras, not the flashing lights. But as he looked out the plane window, he whispered, "This isn't about me anymore. It's about who I speak for." He thought of the silent fighters, the lonely, the tired, the ones crying in the dark just like he once was, and he knew he had to go. Standing on the edge, the Global Mindset Summit was massive. Thousands of people in the audience, millions watching online, bright lights, loud music, huge screens. Rayan stood backstage. The announcer read his name. "Please welcome, the voice of raw truth, Rayan, from the Becoming Tribe." Applause shook the room. He walked onto the stage. His hands were cold, his knees weak, but his voice calm. "I wasn't always this guy." Rayan took a deep breath and spoke. "You see this version of me, confident, speaking, smiling, but I wasn't always this guy. There was a time I cried in silence, a time I gave up on myself, a time I believed I would never matter." The room went still. "But one day, I changed one thing. Not my clothes, not my job, not my body. I changed my mindset. I started choosing a different thought, a better one. I told myself, this pain is not the end. It's the start." And I kept repeating it until I became it. Tears filled eyes across the audience. He ended with, "You don't need to be perfect. You just need to begin. Even broken wings can still fly if the heart still hopes." Silence. Then, a standing ovation. The night that lit a fire. That night. Rayan didn't feel like a hero. He felt real. He had stood in front of the world, not as a coach or guru, but as a human who fell, broke, and stood up again. He sat by his hotel window, looking at the city lights below, and for the first time in years, he smiled with peace. He whispered, "This is just the beginning." The world had seen his rise. The world had watched his fall. But now, Rayan had one last thing to show them. That even a broken man can rise again, alone in the dark. The spotlight had faded. The cheers were gone. Even some of his fans had turned quiet. Rayan walked through the streets of his city at night. No cameras, no suit, just him and his thoughts. He passed by a shop window. His reflection stared back, tired eyes, a face that had seen too much. "Who am I now?" he whispered to the glass. He didn't have an answer, but deep inside, something was still burning. A call he never expected at 2:13 a.m. His phone rang. The name on the screen stopped his breath. Z. He stared at it for 10 long seconds, then answered. Z. "Hey." Rayan. "Hey." Silence. Then Z said softly, "That email you posted. From the boy who didn't give up. I saw it. I cried." Rayan said nothing. He listened. "I was angry. I thought, you left me behind. But maybe I just stayed behind myself. I'm sorry, Rayan. I hurt you. Because I was hurting." A deep breath escaped Rayan's chest. He replied quietly, "You didn't destroy me, Z. You reminded me why I started. There were no tears. Just truth. And sometimes, that's stronger than any apology." Rebuilding the broken. The next morning, Rayan posted a video. No music, no fancy editing. Just him, sitting on the floor. He looked straight into the camera and said, "I'm not perfect. I've failed. I've doubted myself. I've been angry. But every time I broke, I rebuilt. This isn't just my story. It's our story. Of pain, of falling, and standing back up again." He ended the video with 6 words. "You are not alone. Keep going." Within hours, it went viral. Millions watched. But more importantly, millions felt. A new beginning. He didn't wait for brands to call. He didn't chase followers. Instead, he started something real. The Broken Wings Project. A safe space online for people to share their pain, to heal, to speak. He didn't speak as a hero now. He spoke as someone who had fallen and still stood, and people listened like never before. Stories that touched the world. Emails poured in, from a soldier in Ukraine who had lost his leg, from a young girl in Japan who was bullied daily, from a single mother in India working 3 jobs. Each one had the same message. "I wanted to give up, but then I heard your words." Rayan read every message. He replied to each one. And with every reply, he found something again. Hope, not for others, but for himself. One last speech. 6 months later, Rayan was invited to speak again, this time at the World Human Values Forum. He walked onto the stage. But he wasn't nervous. He didn't wear a suit, just a simple black shirt and jeans. The room was packed. He stood before the mic and smiled. "Before I speak, I want you to do one thing. Look around you. Every single person here has been broken in some way. But guess what?" He paused. "You're still here. You showed up for life today. That's bravery. That's power." His final words. He ended his speech with a promise. "I once thought success was fame. But now I know. Success is staying alive when everything inside you wants to quit. Success is standing up one more time than you fall. Success is showing your scars and still choosing to love." The crowd didn't just clap. They stood, and some cried. Last message to the viewers. Later that night, Rayan posted one final message to his audience. It was simple. "You don't have to win today. Just don't give up today. That's enough." Rayan stood by the window of his small apartment. The sun was rising slowly, soft orange light touching his face. He wasn't thinking about fame anymore. He wasn't counting likes or views for the first time in years. He was simply at peace. He smiled. "I didn't change the world," he whispered, "but I changed myself. And sometimes, that's where real change begins." Looking back 1 year ago, he was on the edge. His mind was filled with noise, doubt, fear, anger. He had everything: fame, success, attention. And yet, he felt empty. He remembered the night he nearly gave up, alone in a hotel room. No one to call, no one to care. Until a single email changed everything. A boy with no followers, no fame, who said Rayon's words saved him from ending his life. That night, something inside Rayon shifted. The switch Rayon used to chase perfection. Now he chased progress. He used to fear failure. Now he embraced learning. He used to want to be loved. Now he focused on loving himself. That's the mindset that changed everything. I am enough, even when I'm not perfect. Lessons. That stayed Rayon learned 5 lessons in that hard year, and now he shared them with the world. Pain is a teacher. Every scar has a story. If you listen, you grow. Perfection is a lie. The people who inspire us most are the ones who showed their flaws. You are not alone. Everyone is fighting something. You are never the only one. Small steps still count. Healing doesn't happen in a day, but each step forward matters. Mindset shapes reality. The world outside can be hard, but the world inside can be stronger. A message that spread like fire one day, he wrote on a wall at a school he visited. You matter, even when you feel invisible. A student took a picture and posted it online. It went viral. Suddenly, people around the world began writing that sentence, in classrooms, on mirrors, in notebooks, on their hearts. You matter, even when you feel invisible. It became a quiet revolution, not loud, but powerful. The impact, because of Rayon's new mindset, things began to grow. A book deal, not about success, but about struggle. A podcast called The Broken Mindset, where guests shared their battles. A scholarship fund for young people in pain, called Project Phoenix. But the biggest change? He didn't do it for applause. He did it because it felt right. Forgiving the past one day, he visited his old school, the place where he was once bullied, where he felt less. He stood in the hallway, touched the old locker with chipped paint, and whispered, I forgive you, and I forgive me too. He walked away, lighter.